Friday, October 25th, 2024, and woohoo! It was a hot one on The View today. This is the kind of over talking that Whoopi never allows. So I kind of like freewheeling Fridays when Joy's in charge and just like, fuck it. And at one point she did right before she went to commercial, said screw you to Trump, which I thought was hilarious. But anyway, so um, I guess last night, Charlamagne the God was on CNN and talking to Anderson Cooper about how sort of the media is really fucked up in this election cycle, and said, "I feel like on this network, I've heard you talk more about whether or not Kamala is black than the fact that Donald Trump is a fascist." And Anderson Cooper says that's bullshit. I don't think I've ever heard him swear on TV before. But he clearly took offense to it, and somebody had to say, "It's not just you. He's talking about the whole network." And he's like, "I don't think any anchor has ever. Maybe we had some, strange person." And he could like he. I've never seen him kind of like lose his shit and not be able to make a point clearly. He was so flustered. I've never seen that before, but he was clearly triggered by this statement, and I think part of it is because it's true. And then, as he goes on to defend himself and the network, and Charlamagne the God goes, "Well, that's bullshit right there, Anderson," which he's right. This is what I want. I like this. Just right up, straight up to your face. I'm going to tell you, you're fucking this up. And the corporate media needs to be held accountable and needs to be told to their faces that they have been fucking up. New York Times, Washington Post, LA Times, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, all of you. Um, and even the network news, because the point that he's trying to make is that the fact that Donald Trump said, "I didn't know she was black until 2 weeks ago," or whatever he said. And then people went on discussing that over and over again. And the discussion on The View was, we had to talk about it because he talked about it. No, you don't. The problem here is that none of you just showed up to say, that's blatantly false, that's incorrect, move on. And talk about something else and move on to, let's talk about policy. Let's actually compare their economic plans and what the difference is going to be. CNN is so entrenched in personality politics and punditry and opinion that they've lost the plot about actually giving the news. And this whole idea that people are afraid to fact check, and that the fact that the actual phrase fact check has become some sort of boogeyman phrase, and it's and it's not about you have to know every fact in your head. It's you can just blatantly say what you're saying, sir, is incorrect. She has always been black. If you didn't know that, maybe you're thinking of someone else, Nikki Haley, because you're demented and you're confused. The fact that the media went on billions of words about Biden's cognitive health and not one about Trump's. It's that kind of normalizing of Trump that has been the problem, and that's the point Charlamagne is making: is that you guys are the ones who've created this horse race because you need it for eyeballs and clicks. And so, yes, more of this, please. And I think the American public sees it more now than ever, and aren't really kind of willing to put up with it anymore, which is great. So the ladies of The View discussed this, and of course, Amy Alyssa Farfar Griffin takes offense to it, and poor Sarah Haynes couldn't get her point in because everybody kept interrupting her. But it was difficult. She was taking a long time to get to her point. And I think that the point ultimately she was trying to make was that, you know, you don't have to, you don't necessarily have to take him seriously, but you have to take him seriously as a candidate. And even though he doesn't say serious things, this is a serious outcome. And I get what she was trying to say. Alyssa, on the other hand, it just goes up, no, I've been on CNN saying he's a fascist, blah, blah, blah. That's not enough. They also have his sycophants that make up for it and don't and they don't check them. They don't. This is all the media. Nobody gets, excuse me, the fact check back at them. When they smile through, oh, Trump didn't mean that, but that's what he said, sir. And then just cut them off and stop having them on. Like fucking Chris Christie. What a fucking loser. But before I get to that, Amy Alyssa Farfalla Griffin is like, as soon as she starts to defend sort of the media take on it all, she's talking about, and they get into this big discussion. That doesn't win the hearts and minds of voters. What you've got to do is and she's talking about the political strategy of Kamala Harris. That's Kamala Harris's job, not yours. You're part of the journalist, and at one point somebody said it's not our job to tell people who to vote for. No, it's not. But it's also you can have your opinions about what the campaign should be doing, but that's not the point Charlamagne was making. He's not talking about what the campaign should be doing. He's talking about the news media's responsibility to cover what's happening responsibly and truthfully, and not just give the guy a pass and say, oh, well, that's Trump. And that's exactly what Chris Christie, that fat fucking piece of shit who should be in jail, was doing. Going on and saying, I'm not supposed to tell you who to vote for. My job is to give you a political analysis, blah, 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 blah. Fine, that's your job to give political analysis. And then he starts to go on and say what the campaign needs to do for the next 10 days. It's not his comment. Charlamagne's comment was not about what are we going to do in the next 10 days. It's what the fuck you all been doing for the last 9 years. And Christie, you were part of the normalization. You worked for the asshole. So did you, Alyssa. Unbelievable. The reason we're at this point, the reason we have all these stupid fucking undecided voters and people that aren't sure what to do is because you've let them think that he's not that bad. You haven't reminded people about this is what the chaos is. And what it was for 4 fucking years. Every day looking at your phone going, what the fuck did he rage tweet last night? What the fuck did the President of the United States rage tweet about Iran last night? Oh my God. What a dereliction of duty. What a lack of accountability in the media. And then they get on their own fucking airwaves and complain about the fact that they're being in any way questioned about the shitty job they've done that has landed us in the spot that we're in, and then talk about the exact thing that created the problem. Unbelievable. And then Alyssa and Christie, we're in this terrible position of being Republicans, not knowing what to do. Yes, you do know what to do. You've been saying for years he's an existential threat to democracy. You've got a binary choice. And Christie has the nerve to say she hasn't sold it to me yet. Fuck you. Fuck you, you fat fucking criminal. That was bullshit, I tell you. And I would love to see more of this. I guess I don't want to, you know what? It's a Friday. I don't really want to dig myself into what other ripples that this Charlamagne interview is, because they're all going to defend themselves and miss the entire point instead of actually talking about the reasons why this man is unfit to serve. If he can't tell that the vice president of the United States, who has been in national politics for a decade, he didn't know that she was biracial. What does that say about you? She was in Congress when he was the president. What does that say about you as a person and a leader that you don't even know the basic information about your opponent? Or are you thinking that your opponent is someone else in your lapsed judgment, Nikki Haley? Unbelievable. So anyway, it's not going to change anything, I don't think, at least not immediately. But if more people will say to their faces this same thing, that it's your fault we're in this spot. And somebody, Christie says, it's the American people who chose him. You know why they chose him in the primary? Because they have not been given the full breadth of information. Fox News is just out there whitewashing the whole fucking thing, pun intended. And the rest of the media is just falling in line. Sonny's point about, well, he had, two assassination attempts that were not assassination. And we were all told to tone down the rhetoric. He never toned a fucking thing down. And telling someone that he's lying and what he's doing is dangerous is not somehow elevating the rhetoric. Excuse me. These people are such like lily livered little, tail between their legs, spineless pieces of shit. Your job is to provide accurate information. Your job isn't to protect a guy just because he's got an army of sycophants that are ready to take up arms against you. They're ready to take up arms against all of the rest of us. But Jesus H, have some fucking accountability, media.